أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على حي على الفلاح حي على
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. Brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's a pleasure to be with you to teach this book, which I have recently written. As you can see, it is called Selections from the Glorious Quran, and it contains 8 selections from the Quran, from different parts of the Quran, and each lesson is made up of 4 sections. The first section is the text of the Quran, mere text of the Quran, but it has been taken from the Mus'haf al-Madina, published by the King Fahd Quran Printing Complex. But there is a special feature, and that is I have redistributed the text, because the text usually the words are close to each other, but I have distributed the words in such a way that they are very clear for those who want to read easily. That is the first section. Second section is lexical and grammatical explanations. Here I write the first line of the selection, write the translation into English, and then comes the lexical and grammatical analysis. If there are single words, they are explained, and grammatical constructions are also explained. Then I go to the second line and third line up to the end of the verses in the selection. The third section is additional notes, where I have added certain verses of the Quran, ayat, additional ayat, and information also. Sometimes I mention the meanings of certain words, Quranic words in the modern Arabic language, so that you get in touch with the language of the day also. And the last section is the exercises. Inshallah, we'll do that all that. And I would request you to read the lines, the ayat, which are not only the ayat that are mentioned here, but ayat which go before and after these ayat, so that you get a complete picture of what is being said in the text. Now, before we start the book, I'd like to give a brief explanation of the Quranic orthography, that is, spelling and the signs and symbols that are mentioned that are used in the Quranic text, because most of the people don't know this. The Quran has got its own orthography, its own spelling, and its own signs and symbols, which are not used in normal Arabic writing. So I'll start with that, because we are going to read the texts. And in the text, you'll come across these signs and symbols and spellings which are not usually used in the normal Arabic writing. So to be conversant with these peculiarities, I'll give you an explanation of these things. Quranic orthography. Now, the Quranic text that we use, if you take a page of the Quran, any page, it contains 4 elements. It contains 4 different elements. They have been, of course, synchronized now, but there are 4 different elements. The first element is the consonantal text of the Quran. Now, this is the consonantal text of the Quran without vowels, only consonants. Of course, long vowels are incorporated, like waw, alif, ya. These are incorporated. These are called huruf al-illa, they are huruf. But the short vowels, fatha, dhamma, kasra, and all these are not there. Not even the dots. Now, this is the beginning. It's the beginning of Surah Al-An'am. The first 2 words are not here, probably in the first page, the previous page. Alhamdulillahi alladhi khalaqa as-samawati. Alhamdulillahi alladhi khalaqa as-samawati. No dots here. Wal arda. Wa ja'ala. See, this is Jim, Ain, Lam. Ja'ala al-dhulumati wan-nur. ثم الذين كفروا واو, this is alif. كفروا بربهم يعدلون. This is noon. هو الذي خلقكم من طين ثم قضى أجلا. So alif is here and jim is here, next to the rest of the word. ثم قضى أجلا وأجل مسمى عنده. Dal here and ha here. عنده ثم أنتم تمترون وهو الله في السماوات تاهية وفي الأرض ضاد here يعلم, this is يعلم سركم وجهركم. Now this is the consonantal text which was prepared by or under the supervision of Uthman radiallahu anhu, and that is why it is called the Uthmanic text or Uthmanic codex, Al-Rasm Al-Uthmani. Al-Rasm Al-Uthmani. Please be clear that Al-Rasm Al-Uthmani does not mean a style of writing. It means the text as was prepared by Uthman radiallahu anhu, not by him, by his calligraphists, under his supervision. So the first element, when we say such and such text confirms to Al-Rasm Al-Uthmani, what does it mean? It means that the spelling of the words confirm to the Rasm Al-Uthmani by the text, confirms to the text prepared by Uthman radiallahu anhu. For example, as-samawat has no alif. So if you write as-samawat, waw and then alif, complete alif, it does not confirm to the Uthmanic text. But if you write without the alif or a short alif after waw, then it confirms to the Quranic, Uthmanic text. So the first element in the Quranic text is Rasm al-Uthmani, which is the consonantal text prepared by Uthman radiallahu anhu. The second element is the dots which were added later on. For example, khalaqa, kha has no dot. Kha has no dot. Qaf has no dot. Samawat, ta has no dot. Now in those days, the Arabs knew the Quran, the Muslims knew the Quran by heart. It was only a support. But most of the people, most of the Sahabas knew the Quran by heart, so they can easily read the text. So the dots were added later on when non-Arabs entered into Islam and they could not read this text. Dots were added. That is the second. It's called al-i'jam. I'll write these. The first is al-rasm al-Uthmani. Al-rasm al-Uthmani. The second is al-i'jam. Al-i'jam is a masdar from which conjugation, which form? Yes, from the fourth form, a'jama, yu'jimu, i'jamun. I'jam is putting the dots. That is why a dotted letter is called harfun mu'jam. It is ism maf'ul, harf mu'jam. Harfun mu'jam is a dotted letter like jim and kha, but ha, for example, is غير mu'jam. Harf غير mu'jam, undotted letter. Dal is غير mu'jam, dhal is mu'jam. Ra is غير mu'jam, zay is mu'jam. Sin غير mu'jam, sheen mu'jam. So al-i'jam is the process of adding the dots to the letters. The third element is الضبط. الضبط means the vowel points. Like fatha, dhamma, kasra, madda, shadda, all these are included in الضبط. In the Indian subcontinent, they use the word al-i'rab, i'rab. That is not correct. But i'rab, you must have learned in the Arabic grammar, is to find out the correct ending of a noun or a verb in the sentence. For example, عندي كتاب is marfu', قرأت كتابا, I read a book, it's mansoob. وجدت هذا في كتاب, I found this in a book, it's majroor. Now this is i'rab, the changing of the endings of a noun or a verb, mudari', to show its function in the sentence. That is i'rab, which in European language is called declension of a noun. That is i'rab. But calling the vowel marks, vowel points as i'rab is not very correct. So it is called al-dhabt. These are the 3 points. The consonantal text prepared by Uthman radiallahu anhu, which does not have either dots or the vowel points. Later on, vowel points were dots were added. Later on, vowel points were also added. In the beginning, vowel points were not like the one we have, lines, but there were dots also. Dots in front, dots below, and dot above. That is why, if you remember in Urdu, the fatha is called zabar. Zabar means above. Zair means below. Pesh means in front. So these indicate the positions of these points in the writing. They were dots, but in a different color, different ink. Red dots, above is fatha, below is kasra, and in front of it was dhamma. But later on developments were made, and we have different forms. In Ajam, there are very little difference in different countries. There is only one difference which I would like to mention. In Morocco, qaf is 1 dot above. 1 dot above is qaf. 1 dot below is fa. So if they want to write qif, which means stop, road sign, they write like this. If you go to Morocco, be careful. You may go right into the arms of a policeman. Moroccans read qira'ah, which is called warsh. Warsh. So they write also in this writing qaf 1 dot above and fa 1 dot below. And we in the Quran complex, King Fahd Quran complex, we have published Quran according to Warsh also. So we get a lot of letters from different parts of the world saying, you don't know how to write the Quran. You write 1 dot for qaf. So we have to explain to them that this is how the Moroccans write. With regard to al-dhabt, there are different styles of dhabt. In the Indian subcontinent, there is one dhabt, which is not very different, but it's different from the dhabt system that is used in Arab countries. Turks, they have a different type of dabt. And Warsh in Morocco, it has completely different kind of dabt. It's all systems, different system, but it doesn't change anything. The fourth element, alamatul waqf. Alamatul waqf means punctuation marks. These are also, different countries have different systems. India and Pakistan, they have got a different system. In Arab countries, they have got a different system. And these are of recent origin, maybe about 200 years old, 250 years old, not very old. Just to guide the reader where to stop, where not to stop. But in the Indian subcontinent, they have got so many signs that one gets confused. There are a lot of signs, and some of the signs are contradictory. One sign says you stop, the other sign says don't stop. In the King Fahd Quran complex, Quran, we have got only five or six. I'll explain to you later on when we come to that. Alamatul waqf. So these are the four elements that are contained in the Quranic text. So the very important thing is that it should conform to the Ar-Rasm al-Uthmani. Now, ulama have permitted a single line or one or two lines. If you are writing an article and you want to quote the Quran, if you write a line, one or two lines, ayat, you can write these ayat in the ordinary, normal Arabic script. One or two lines. It's allowed. But not the whole of the Quran or whole of the surah. It should conform to the Ar-Rasm al-Uthmani, because here there are volumes have been written about where alif has been added, where alif has been omitted, where waw has been omitted, where waw has been written. So there's a whole lot of works, books written. So we can be very sure, even if we don't find here, we can be very sure that this word was actually like this. There is a waw there, there is no alif there. So it has been well guarded, and you can go to the books and find out the real word, real status of the word. That is why ulama do not allow that the whole Quran be written in the modern script, because modern spelling, it differs from place to place. In Egypt, there is a system. In Syria, there is another system. In Egypt, for example, mi'atun, 100. Egyptians and most of the Arab countries, they write with an alif. You must have seen this. Mi'atun. But in Syria, they write like this, without alif. In Egyptian Arabic, ya is written without dots. In Syrian, with dots. If a Syrian sees a word like kursi, for example, written without a dot, he will get very confused and take his pen. Even if it is in a book, he will put two dots. But Egyptians don't write. They write without dots. So there's a lot of difference between different countries, Arab countries, with regard to writing. So if you begin to write the Quran according to the normal Arabic script or normal Arabic orthography, then there will be confusion. That is why it is best to stick to the ancient text, as all works of legacy. Now, next, we come to the signs and symbols that are used in the Quran, Quranic text, which are different from the orthography used in normal Arabic script. Of course, I'll give you some of the examples, but it will take a lot of time to speak to you about all these signs. The first sign, or the first difference, you see, Hamza plus Alif, we write like this. In normal script, for example, Adam, we write like this. Amana, we write like this. But in the Quranic script, it's Hamza plus Alif. Because means Hamza plus Alif. Just like Ba is Ba plus Alif, Ta is Ta plus Alif. So Hamza plus Alif is So we write like this in the Quranic script, not like this. Now, if it's Lam Alif, if the Hamza is placed on top of the Alif, it is Hamza followed by a Fatha. It is For example, Al-Amnu. But please note, if it is placed between the two lines here, it is Hamza plus Fatha plus Alif. Did you get that? Yes. Because it is as if it is Alif, it's like this. Alif plus Hamza plus Alif, this is Hamza plus Alif. But if it's placed here, it is only Hamza followed by Fatha. This is Hamza, Fatha plus Alif. Akhiratu. This information you will not find any, even in the pages they have written about this, they have not written this. So this is Al-Akhiratu. Azifatil Azifatu. So it will be written, the Hamza will be here, between the two lines, not on top of the... Now, Sukoon in the Mus'haf is like this, which is actually the head of Jim, Jazm. Jazm means cutting, that is removing the vowel. Ajrun, for example. So, this is head of Jim, which has been, of course, later on simplified to this. In normal Arabic, this is the Sukoon. But this in Arab, in the Quranic script, a small circle, means a letter which is not pronounced. Please remember this. Like Amanun, this alif is not pronounced. Ulaika, the waw is not pronounced. Ulul arham, ulul albab, the waw is not pronounced. So ulu will be written like this. Ulu. Ulaika also, the waw will have. Now there is another version of this circle. It's elongated. This is complete circle, this is elongated. This is usually placed on the word ana, but there are also a few more words. This means that the alif is not pronounced in continuous reading, but it is to be pronounced in the pausal form. When you pause, ana, you read the alif, pronounce the alif. But ana Muhammadun, ana talibun, then you don't pronounce the alif, as if it is hamza plus noon fatha, ana, not ana. So it has two pronunciations. One in pausal form, where alif is pronounced, ana. Man ja'a, who came? Ana, with the alif pronounced, ana. But ana ji'tu, here you don't pronounce. So this elongated circle is placed on this word, and there are other words also. Now, if we have like this, noon without a sukoon, the next letter has a shadda. Noon has no sukoon, and the following first letter has a shadda. That means noon is assimilated in the next word, the following letter. So you don't pronounce min rabbika, you say mir rabbika. Mil ladunka, min ladun, mil ladun. Noon has no sukoon, no sukoon, and the first letter following it has a shadda. The next, noon has no sukoon, but the following letter has no shadda. Here it is partial assimilation. This is complete assimilation. Mir rabbika, noon completely is lost. It becomes ra. If it is followed by lam, it becomes lam, mil ladunka. But if there is no shadda, noon has no sukoon, but the following letter has no shadda, it means it is partial assimilation. Idgham naqis. How do you pronounce it? You say Main yaqul. The noon, nasality of the noon is there. Main yaqul. Min wal. It's not may yaqul, min wal, no. With the nasal quality of the noon is retained, and there is idgham, which is naqis, which is incomplete. Idgham. Now, as you know, tanween is actually noon sakina. If you say kitabun, you should have written ba, dhamma, noon sakin. But we don't write like this. We double the dhamma. Kitabun, kitaban, kitabin. So the tanween is actually, what is it? It is noon sakina. So, what applies to noon sakina here also applies to tanween. How to differentiate between the tanween? If there is idgham or not. You follow me? Here, the fatha, second fatha is placed right on top of the first fatha. Here, the kasra, second kasra is placed right below the first kasra. Dhamma also, this is simplified. Dhamma also, two dhammas placed one above the other. This is called at-tarkeeb. At-tarkeeb means one being placed above the other. Now, this signifies إظهار لكل قوم حاد. There is no idgham or ikhfa. لكل قوم حاد. قوم, you pronounce the noon and its point of articulation. لكل قوم حاد. This is called tatabu'. That is one fatha following the other fatha. Not being on top of it, but coming after it. Also kasra. Also dhamma. This means this idgham. If it is next letter has got its shadda, it means idgham kamil. And if it has no shadda, then it's idgham naqis. There is also what is called al-ikhfa. Have you heard of it? Al-ikhfa. Al-ikhfa means pronouncing the noon not from the point of articulation of noon, which is behind the upper teeth, but from the point of articulation of the next letter. You have it in English also. I-N, you say in. The N is pronounced from behind the teeth, ridge, say in. But you say ink. Do you pronounce the N from behind the teeth? From the calf, from the point of articulation of K. You say ink. That is the ikhfa. In the Quran, in Arabic, you say anqadha. He saved. Noon will not have sukoon because it is ikhfa. Say anqadha. With K also, with kaf, ankalan. Inna ladayna ankalan. This is called al-ikhfa. Ikhfa means hiding the noon, the pronunciation of the noon, not from its point of articulation, but from the point of articulation of the following letter. In British English, M, when M comes before F, you say comfort, come. You don't say come. Comfort. In Arabic also you say anf. Nose, you say anf. This is ikhfa, anf. So these are two examples, and later on in the tajweed class, of course, you will learn this. Ikhfa and idgham, they are indicated by this device. The noon has no sukoon, and the following letter, if it has shadda, that means it's complete idgham. If it has no shadda, it is partial idgham, or it is ikhfa. With regard to hamza, I must have told you before that in the ancient Arabic script, this was hamza. This was hamza. So if you write like this, it should be pronounced, how should it be pronounced? Ma, hamza, which means the closure of the glottis. You know, there are vocal cords. If they come together, the glottis is closed, then hamza is pronounced. Ma. But later on, when writing developed, we had waw for long vowel, qulu. We had ya for long kasra, fi, quli. For long fatha, what to do? They employed the hamza. They employed the hamza to indicate what? To indicate the lengthening of fatha. So we want to say ma, mim fatha. We want to say ma, mim plus alif. Okay, but we have already seen that mim plus alif is ma. How to differentiate? So what they did was, this ayn, they cut off the head of the ayn and put it on top of the alif. So if you write the hamza, the top of the head of the ayn, it is hamza. If you don't write, then it is alif. Alif means what? Lengthening of the fatha. So to differentiate between the original function of alif, the secondary function of alif. They had to differentiate. So the hamza, the ayn, the head of the ayn was placed on the alif to indicate hamza, and without the head of the ayn, it was alif. Alif means lengthening of the fatha. So ma was mim alif, and ma was mim alif with the head of the ayn. If the hamza is at the beginning of a word, it is either placed on top of alif or below the alif. When top of the alif, if the hamza has fatha or dhamma. For example, abun, the hamza is on top of the alif. Ummun, also on top of the alif. But ibratun, needle. Ibrahim, which we place below the alif. This is a normal Arabic script. Alif has, the hamza has two positions, on top of the alif or below the alif, only the first hamza. But in the Mus'haf, Quranic orthography, hamza wherever comes, if it has kasra, it will come below the ya. Either below the alif or below the ya or below the waw. So we say ulaika, the waw will have this circle, alif, hamza will be written below the ya. And even if hamza comes with the alif, at the end of the word, it will be written below the alif. So this is the speciality of the Quranic orthography. And also lu'i, waw, hamza comes below the waw because it is at kasra. Yes. So that is one of the speciality, but not in the normal Quran, normal Arabic script. We will write hamza on top of the alif, only at the beginning. Below the alif, only the beginning of a word, not at the middle. Malaika, for example, malaika, will write the hamza on top of the ya, not below the ya. Now there is, I told you about this madda. This is called madda. Madda means stretching. Madda yamuddu, to stretch, and maddatun is the sign of stretching. Now in the Quranic Arabic, there is an extra lengthening of the vowels. Long vowels. Long vowels are what? Fatha, alif, waw, ya. Kitabun, alif. Fi is ya. And qu anfusakum, qu is waw. And long vowels are equal to two short vowels. So kitabun, ma, for example, mim has got ma, one fatha, ma, it equals to the length of period as two fathas. The same way fi is two kasras, qu, two dhammas. But in the Quranic Arabic, there are certain situations where these fatha, alif, waw and ya receive extra lengthening. And this extra lengthening is shown by this sign. Okay. When do the long vowels receive extra lengthening? Two things. Number one, when they are followed by a hamza. When they are followed by a hamza. For example, ma'un. In normal Arabic we say ma'un, but in the Quranic Arabic we say ma'un. Either 4 vowels or 6 vowels. Ma'un, ja'a. And that is to bring out the hamza, otherwise the hamza will get lost. Ma'un. Hamza is a very difficult sound to be pronounced. So it has to be brought out, pronounced clearly, so the vowel is lengthened. Ma'un, ja'a, waw, su'un. Ya, ji'a. So this vowels, the madda in Quranic orthography signifies extra lengthening. It does not signify hamza plus alif. Ja'a, su'un, ji'a. If you hear an imam saying fa lengthening, what do you expect? Is it fa'izun or fasiqun? Huh? It must be fa'izun because hamza. It can't be fasiqun. Fasiqun without lengthening, fasiqun, but fa'izun. This is the first thing. Second, when the alif, waw, ya are followed by a sakin letter, dabbatun, there are 2 B's, 2 bars. The first has what? Sukun. Dabbatun. Waladhdallin. Lam has, there are 2 lams. First lam is sakin, the second lam has kasra. There are certain letters of Arabic whose name ends in sukun. Like this letter, noon. Noon, waw, noon. What is the last letter? Noon. Sakin or mutaharrik? Sakin. So it also has lengthening, noon. In the Quran. Qaf, kaf, ha. Ha does not end in sukun. Ha. Like in kaf, ha. Ya, no sukun. Ain, there is sukun. Sad, there is sukun. So extra lengthening, the letter, the alif, waw, ya receive extra lengthening if they are followed by what? Hamza or sakin letter or sukun. So the sign of lengthening, extra lengthening, is this one. Please don't confuse this with normal Arabic madda, like Adam. We write Adam like this. But ma'un, dabbatun should also have the madda. Here one more point. If the alif, waw, ya are in one word and the hamza is another word, then you have got a choice, either to lengthen or not to lengthen. For example, ma in. Ma alif, in hamza. You got the choice either to lengthen it or not to lengthen it. In Indian Mus'haf, Indian Pakistani, there are two types of madda. A very heavy madda like this is for the one which you have to pronounce, and a light madda like this for the one which is where you have the choice. But in the Middle Eastern Mus'haf, there's only one type of madda, and then the differentiation you have to be learned by the reader. I think these are some of the very important points that you must learn. Suffice with this and go back and go to the alamatul waqf, the punctuation marks. The punctuation marks which are called alamatul waqf. One, two, three, four, five. These are the 5 signs that are used in the Medina Mus'haf. Very simple and easy to understand. Meme stands for waqf lazim. Waqf lazim. That's compulsory pause. Lazim. If you don't stop there, don't make a pause, the meaning may change. I'll give an example. The ayah, إِنَّمَا يَسْتَجِيبُ الَّذِينَ يَسْمَعُونَ. Then comes, وَالْمَوْتَى يَبْعَثُهُمُ اللَّهُ. إِنَّمَا يَسْتَجِيبُ الَّذِينَ يَسْمَعُونَ. Only those who hear respond. إِنَّمَا يَسْتَجِيبُ الَّذِينَ يَسْمَعُونَ. Only those respond who hear. وَالْمَوْتَى يَبْعَثُهُمُ اللَّهُ. And the dead, Allah will raise them up. If you don't stop here, إِنَّمَا يَسْتَجِيبُ الَّذِينَ يَسْمَعُونَ وَالْمَوْتَى. That means those who hear and the dead respond. So the meaning changes. So there are a few places where you will find meme, which means lazim, you have to make a stop. It is compulsory, mandatory. Jim means waqf jaiz. Jaiz, it's permissible to stop. Either you pause or you don't pause, it doesn't make much difference. This is a short for al-waqfu awla. Al-waqfu awla. Al-waqfu awla. What does it mean? It is better to pause. Awla is better. Al-waqf means pause. Al-waqfu awla. It is better to pause. That means it is not wrong to continue. It's better to pause. The meaning will be clearer if you pause there. The second one means, is a short for al-waslu awla. Al-wasl, continuation. Al-waslu awla, continuation is better. To continue is better, but if you don't continue, if you pause, make a pause there, it's not going to change the meaning. Al-waqf al-jaiz, I have explained to you. And then these three dots written twice, they are called al-mu'anaqa. Al-mu'anaqatu. It literally means embracing. From unuq. What does unuq mean? Neck. Unuq. Anaqa means he held him by the neck. Put his neck into his neck. Mu'anaqa. You will find them in two places, very close to each other. That means if you make a pause at the first sign, don't make a pause at the second sign. ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ. ذَلِكَ الْكِتَاب, that's the book. لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ, there's no doubt in it. Or you say ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ. You don't start with the first one, you start with the second one. So these are the most important things that I wanted to explain to you in the text of the Quran, and the time is up. Inshallah, we'll continue later. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursaleen. Nabiyyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. Brothers and sisters, inshallah we'll read the first lesson, Surah Al-Fatiha. First of all, we will listen to a recitation of this surah, inshallah.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الرحمن الرحيم. مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
Now in this surah, the basmala, that is the formula Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, is part of the surah. With regard to other surahs, there is difference of opinion whether it is part of the surah or not, but with regard to Surah Al-Fatiha, it is part of the surah. You notice that Bism, the alif has been omitted, and the word is ism, which commences with a Hamzatul Wasl. There are some 10 nouns in Arabic which commence with a Hamzatul Wasl. You have learned some of them, ism and ibn, yes. In the same way, ibnatun, feminine of ibn is ibnatun. So the other words, inshallah, you will learn later, but they're not very important. But with verbs, of course, there is a rule. But verbs having 5 letters or 6 letters, their hamza is hamzatul wasl, like in kasara, in taqama. The madi, like in kasara, in kisarun, masdar, in kasir, amr, in sarafa, in sarifu, in sarif. So istaqbala, istaqbilu, istiqbal, masdar has no is hamzatul wasl, and istaqbil, amr, has also hamzatul wasl. So in verbs it is regular. Arabs call it qiyasi. Qiyasi means based on a rule. Sama'i is hearing, based on hearing, there's no rule. So there are about 10 nouns, out of which I have mentioned ibn, ism, and ibna. Hamzatul wasl actually has been imported because the word starts with a sukoon, and in Arabic is not permitted to start with a sukoon. Of course, in English language you have star, for example, speed. So you can start with a sukoon, but in Arabic it's not allowed. So once a word starts with a sukoon, you have to import an alif. This imported alif is called hamzatul wasl. It drops the moment there is another letter preceding it, which will support it, you drop the. So you say ismuhu, or you say masmuhu, the meme, the fatha of the meme suffices. So there is no need for the imported alif. Masmuhu, bismihi. So the kasra of ba, that supports the beginning. But usually the alif is retained in writing. But in the Quran, especially in Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Basmala, it is omitted because of its constant use. It is omitted, but I have given example for Sabbih Bismi Rabbikal Azim, where alif is retained. There's no rule about it in the Quran. Sometimes it is retained, sometimes it is retained, and not retained because it is not pronounced when it is preceded by another word. But when it starts a word, of course you have to retain it. The word Allah is a proper name, and some people say it is derived from aliha, to be surprised or something like that. But the considered opinion is that it is a proper name, it is not derived. And the alif lam at the beginning it looks like alif lam, which is the definite article, but it's not a definite article. It's not a definite article. Of course, it's omitted. The alif is omitted. For example, lillahi, billahi. You don't know pronounce. But in one case, the alif is retained. It's Ya Allah. Ya Allah. You don't say Ya Allah. You have to say Ya Allah. The alif is retained. Hamzatul wasl is retained in this case. But in other cases, it is omitted. When you write lillah, Allahu, if you want to write lillahi, for Allah or belonging to Allah, what do? You just omit the alif. It becomes lillah. But in India and Pakistan, you will find lillah written like this. with another lam, which is wrong. There are a lot of mistakes in the Indian subcontinent with regard to Arabic, prevalent there, and unfortunately nobody corrects them. And so one of them is this lillah writing. It's being written with 3 lams, which is wrong. So if you want to write lillah, just remove the alif, it becomes lillah. So Ya Allah, Hamzatul Wasl is pronounced Hamzatul Qata'. If you remember, Hamzatul Wasl or Hamzatul Qata'. Hamzatul Qata' is pronounced always like Anta, Ana wa Anta. But Ibnun, Hadha Ibni, you say Hadha Ibni, Ayna Ibnuka, Masmuka. The alif is omitted. And in the Mus'haf, the Hamzatul Alama, the sign of Hamzatul Wasl is always written. In normal Arabic orthography, it's not written. Only in certain cases to show or to teach. But normally, the sign which is called Sila is omitted. But in the Mus'haf, somebody asked me the meaning of Mus'haf, so I'll explain to you. Al-Quran and Mus'haf, we have got 2 words. Mus'haf is the printed form of the Quran, or the written form of the Quran. That's why you can speak of, in the Mus'hafun, I've got a Pakistani Mus'haf, I've got a Saudi Mus'haf, I have a German Mus'haf, but we can't say I have got a Pakistani Quran, no. In Arabic, we say, Indi Mushafun Kabirun, or Mushafun Saghirun. I got a large copy, a smaller copy. Indi Mushafun Pakistaniyun, Mushafun Saudiyun. We won't know it's a Quran. We say, Ja'a fil Qur'ani. Ja'a fil Quran. Quran, it's used in the Quran. But when you speak of spelling, you say, it is written like this in the Mus'haf, because it has to do with writing. So there's a difference. The Egyptians don't use the word Quran, because Qaf for them is a problem. They can't pronounce Qaf, so they make it Hamza, but in the Quran they don't want to make it Hamza, so they avoid using the word Quran, they say Mus'haf always, which sometimes leads to misunderstanding. So it should be Mus'haf for the written, printed form, and Quran for the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. You see the Hamza, Hamzatul Wasl, always in the Quran written with Hamzatul Wasl, the Sila. It's a small Sad. The word, the head of the letter Sad, which is written to indicate that it is to be joined, not to be separated. We have the verb Rahima Yarhamu. Rahima Yarhamu. To pity, to show mercy. Rahmatun, Masdar. There are other Masdars also. Barhamatun is Masdar Mimi. You must have learned Masdar Mimi. Barhamatun. And the word Rahim. Rahimun, Arhamun. Rahimun is the womb in which the child is formed. It's Rahimun. And plural is Arhamun. Rahima Yarhamu. Rahima, which group is this? Sami'a Yasma. In my book I use it Ia group. Ia group, yes. So Sami'a Yasma wa Ia group, Rahima Yarhamu. Ismul Fa'il is Rahimun. But you know, Rahima is an action which does not have a beginning and an end. It's a continuous process. Rahima is to pity, to show mercy. So in this case, For example, sami'a, you have a beginning and an end. You hear and then you stop hearing. Akala, you have a beginning and an end. Shariba, you have. But marida, he fell sick. You can't say in which point of time he fell sick. So you don't have ismul fa'il from verbs which do not have a beginning and an end in point of time. You have rahimun, but that's not very often used. Rahimun, one who shows mercy. But the word rahimun, you know the word fa'il, the pattern fa'il shows an inherent quality that is in the person. Like karimun, noble. This nobility does not start and end. Sakhiyun, generous. So rahimun is a ismul mubalagha, sighat al-mubalagha, and also Rahman. As you have seen before, the pattern fa'alan signifies a momentary action. Atshan, thirsty. Jaw'an, hungry. Ghadban, angry. All momentary actions. Mostly, not kaslan. Kaslan is a continuous process. So, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, the two aspects of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's attribute of mercy. It is inherent in Him, which is Rahim, and the word Rahman signifies the manifestation of His attribute in time and space. In a particular time, in a particular space, the manifestation will be momentary, it will be time bound. But the word Rahim is the inherent quality which doesn't get separated from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The next ayah, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Hamida Yahmadu, also a group. Hamdun, Hamida Yahmadu. Hamidun, Ismul Fa'il, Ismul Maf'ul, Mahmudun. The Fa'ala, Hammada, means to praise excessively. Hammada. What will be the Ismul Maf'ul from this? Muhammadun. Muhammidun, one who praises excessively, and Muhammadun, one who is praised excessively. So Muhammad is the Ismul Maf'ul from Hammada, second conjugation, second form. But from the first form, Hamidun, Ismul Fa'il, Mahmudun, Ismul Maf'ul. Now with regard to Al, we have learned in the book that it is definite article, but there are different three kinds of Al, which I will explain now. The one that we have already learned is called Alif Lam al-Ahdiyya. Alif Lam al-Ahdiyya. Al-Ahd means reference, previous knowledge, acquaintance. So Alif Lam al-Ahdiyya refers to a thing that is already known to you and known to your listeners or readers. If you are reading a book, When I speak to a man and says, Ja'a rajulu, the man came, that means you know him. And your listener also knows him. Otherwise, if you say Ja'a rajulu, if you say, he will get confused. May I ask you, whom do you mean? So al-ahdiyya means the thing is known to you and known to your listeners and readers. Now this knowledge common to you and to your readers and your listeners, the source of this knowledge is three things. One of three things. It's all mentioned in the book, you can see. I'll explain to you. Number one, the thing is right in front of you. So you and your listener know this. Supposing there is a book here, and I tell my listener, Hatil Kitab, give me the book. He knows what you mean because it's right in front of you. There is a man, maybe very close to you or maybe a little far away, but you say, Nadi Rajul, Nadi Rajul. What does that mean? Call the man. Nada, Yunadi, Amr, Nadi. Nadi Rajul. Call the man. Your listener will understand because he is seeing this man. This is called Al-Ahd al-Huduri. Al-Ahd al-Huduri. Al-Huduri means presence. You know him because he is present right in front of you, either the book or the man or whatever it is. So Al-Ahd al-Huduri. This is one source of common knowledge between you and the listener. The second type is Al-Ahd al-Dhikri. The object or the man or the person has been mentioned before, either by you or by the listeners. So, second time you refer to him. For example, you say, Ja'ani rajulun. Ja'ani rajulun. A man came to me. Now here, he is unknown to you. Then, second sentence you say, وَالرَّجُلُ كَانَ غَضْبَانَ. The man was angry. Now, كَانَ الرَّجُلُ غَضْبَانَ. He has already been mentioned, so you know him. So it is called Al-Ahd al-Dhikri. Al-Ahd al-Dhikri. That is knowledge gained by mentioning him or his being mentioned before. اشتريت كتابا. I bought a book. والكتاب مفيد جدا. The book is very useful. So you already mentioned. And then second time you say, wal kitabu. The third type is based, or the third type, the common knowledge is based on context. On context. So when you tell your friend, I'm going to the office, you know which office he means, because he knows that he works in a particular office. We say, I'll ask the friend. They know which friend he's meant. His previous, from the context, they will be different. Supposing in a grammar class, there's a question in grammar. So the students, one of the students says, Nas'alu shaykha, nas'alu al-shaykha. We'll ask the teacher. That means the grammar teacher, not the Quran teacher. Because the context determines what you mean. But in the Quran class, we say nas'alu al-shaykha, that means the Quran teacher. So that is called al-ahd al-zihni. Al-ahdu al-zihniyu. Zihni, mental. So all these three types are alif lam al-ahdiyya, referential alif lam. Whether it is based on, the knowledge is based on the presence of the thing, or because it has been mentioned before, or the context determines it. For example, you say, naltaqi fil masjid. Naltaqi fil masjid. We will meet in the mosque. You know in which mosque you both meet. So, need not explain. So, naltaqi fil masjidi. Somebody else, when they say naltaqi fil masjid, it's a different mosque, not the same mosque. So it depends upon the context. So this is one type. Another type this is alif ba jim. Number 2, alif lam al-jinsiyatu. Al-jins means genus. It is the same word. It's a Latin word, genus. Generic. Now, when you use alif lam, this type of alif lam has nothing to do with previous knowledge. It refers to the genus. When, for example, you say, al-labanu mufidun. Al-labanu mufidun. Milk is useful. Al-inabu aghla min at-tuffahi. I don't know whether the rates are. Al-inabu, the grapes are aghla, more expensive, min at-tuffahi, than the apples. Means the genus, not a particular thing which I know, you know. It means what is known as inab, what is known as tuffah. This also has two types. One type is known as listighraq al-jins, alif lam al-jinsiyya, listighraq al-jins. I'll explain to you. It means when you say al-rajulu, it means every member of the genus. Sometimes, not always. For example, you say al-insanu yamutu. Al-insanu yamutu. Man dies. Does it mean every insan? Every human being? Yes, of course. Yeah. Yes. So al-insanu yamutu. Here al-insan, alif lam is al-jinsiyya, listighraq al-jins, to comprehend all the members of the genus. In the Quran, خُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ ضَعِيفًا. Man was created weak. It's every man. However strong he may be, if he has a stroke, it's finished. If he has a heart attack, finished. He can't walk. So every man has been created weak. الاستغراق الجنس. استغراق, which bab is this? Bab 10. استغرق. غرق means to drown, to get drowned. استغرق means to be completely covered. الاستغراق الجنس. Example, as I told you, al-insanu yamutu, man dies. It means every man dies. All human beings die. The second one is لبيان الحقيقة. It points only to the fact. It doesn't comprehend all the members. For example, الرجال أقوى من النساء. الرجال, men, are stronger than women. Does it include all men and all women? No. Yeah, some women are stronger than men. Yeah. So it's to state the fact generally as a rule, but doesn't refer to every member of the genus. لبيان الحقيقة. Here الإنسان يموت. الرجال أقوى من Now we come to the third type, which is called al-zaida, extra L. Extra L. Is it clear now? The istighraq al-jins means you can use the word every instead of al. Kullu insanin yamut. If you say like that, it will be correct. But in the other sense, and in the other example, you can't say. Kullu rijali aqwa min an-nisa, you can't say. The third type is al-zaidatu, extra al. This means that certain words, Arabic words, have al, which cannot be separated. They don't mean anything. For example, you say alladhi, you got al there. Alladhi, allati, alladhani, there's al. In the same way, you have al-qahiratu, the Cairo, which has got al-qahiratu. Some countries, names of human beings, countries. Now Pakistan, some Arabs say Pakistanu, some Arabs say Al-Pakistan. So they add alif lam But certain countries, there is consensus. Al-Brazil, the Al-Yaban. They don't remove Al from Yaban, Al-Yaban. Al-Hind. Al-Hind is very old, ancient. From the pre-Islamic times, they say Al-Hind. So these are extra alif lam. You can't remove them. They don't have a special meaning. They don't add to the meaning, as we have seen in other places. But there is one type which may add to the meaning, and that is names of persons, human beings. You may add alif lam to suggest that he has a quality which is contained in the name. For example, there is a name Asad. Proper name, Asad. What does it mean? Lion. Some say, it's very common, they say Al-Asad, Ja Al-Asad. If you use Al-Asad, you want to suggest that it has got the qualities of a lion. To suggest. Al-Fadlun, Fadlun is favor. You also say Al-Fadlu. Show that he has got this quality. Abbasun. What does Abbas mean? Frowning. What I mean? Abbas is a mubalagha, always with a frowning face. Abbasun, Abasa ya'abasu. Abasa wa tawalla. Abus. Abus is also one who is always frowning. In the Quran, the day of judgment, they refer to as Abus and Qamtarira. It's a frowning day. So, Abbas, one of the uncles of the Prophet ﷺ, Abbas ibn Abdul Muttalib. We all say Al-Abbas, Ja Al-Abbas. We say Ja Al-Abbasu, you want to suggest that he is frowning, he is angry. So this is one of the types of extra Al, which has some meaning, which has meaning. But here also, one does not have a choice to always use, but it's limited to the Arab use of this Al. For example, we don't say Al-Muhammad. We never say this. But Al-Abbas, Al-Fadl, Al-Asad. Mostly when they want to refer to the qualities that the word suggests, you can add Al. Now in Alhamdu, if you see the Urdu translations, or even some of the English translation, will say Alhamdu means all types of praise. This is al-istighraq al-jiz, al-alif lam, alhamdu. Here al is not this type. This is the generic al. So alhamdu means all types of praise. There is a mubtada, alhamdu. Khabar, where is the khabar? Lillahi, Shiva Jumla, Alhamdulillahi, belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some people translate, may all praise be to Allah. This is your wish. But that's not right. Allah, the praise belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He deserves it. You need not wish it. So, all praise belong to Allah. And then, Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. Rabb Al-Alameen is Badal of Allah. Alhamdulillah. Who is Allah? Rabbil Alameen, Badal. And Badal is إعراب التابع. It follows the مبدل منه, whether it is منصوب, مجرور, مرفوع. It will follow the, for example, رأيت محمدا, رأيت أخاك محمدا. I saw your brother Muhammad. أين أخوك محمد. سلمت على أخيك محمد. So the badal follows the mubdal minhu in its grammatical cases. It is the same case as the mubdal minhu. Rabbil alamin, Rabb has got plural also, arbabun. Rabbun, arbabun, lords. Arbabun. It also has a feminine form, rabbatun. Rabbatul bayti means housewife, the lady of the house. Rabbatul bayti. It's not a modern expression. It is not a modern expression. It is a poet belonging to the Abbasid period, Abu Nuwas. He has a couplet. He had a maid at home, and she said, you write qasidas, you write odes in praise of the kings and the ministers. Why don't you write something about me? So he said, okay, I'll write. He said, Rababatu Rabbatul Bayti. Rababa, her name. He said, Rababatu Rabbatul Bayti. Rabbatul Bayti is an old expression. Rababa is the housewife. Rababatu Rabbatul Bayti. Tasubbul khalla fi zayti. Tasubbu, what does tasubbu mean? Sabba yasubbu. To pour. To pour. Sabba yasubbu. Tasubbul khalla fi zayti. Khal, what does it mean? La khallun. Who knows? Tasubbul khalla fi zayti. Al khal is vinegar. Al khal. Al khallu. There is a hadith, Khayrul idamil khallu. Khayrul idami al khallu. The best, yes, idam, what is idam? Idam is a companion of the bread, whatever is eaten with the bread. It is either salan or whatever it is. Yeah. Yes. Khayrul idami al khallu. Vinegar is the best companion of the bread. Tasubbul khalla fi zayti. In oil. She pours. I don't know what happens.
Then you make vinaigrette and put it on salad.
They said, Rababatu Rabbatul Bayti Tasubbul khalla fi zayti laha ashru dajajatin.
She's 10 chickens.
She had 10 chicken. Laha ashru dajajatin wa deekun hasanu sawti.
With the beautiful voice.
Yes, and a rooster with a beautiful voice. I know. ربابة ربة البيت تصب الخل في الزيت لا عشر دجاجات وديك حسن الصوت. حسن الصوت. So I want to tell you that this is a very old expression, Rabbatul Bayt, and even today it is used, Rabbatul Bayt, meaning in the forms which you get to fill in, some ladies write Rabbatul Bayt, Rabbatu Baytin, that is a housewife. Arbab, I have given you ayat in which Arbab is used. Let us read this ayah. In page 10. On page 10. Ya sahibay sijni أأرباب متفرقون خير أم الله الواحد القهار. يا صاحبي السجن, O my two companions of the prison, two companions who are in the prison. أأرباب متفرقون خير. Where is the mubtada? أرباب, but it's indefinite. Can you have indefinite noun as a mubtada?
It's a question.
It's a question, and also it is man'oot. Man'oot, indefinite noun, can be a mubtada. أأرباب متفرقون. أأرباب متفرقون, are diverse lords better than Allah? أأرباب متفرقون خير أم الله الواحد القهار. Allah the Almighty. قل يا أهل الكتاب تعالوا إلى كلمة سواء بيننا وبينكم. Say, this is addressed to the Prophet ﷺ, Ya Ahl al-Kitabi, O people of the book, people of the scripture, that is Jews and Christians. Ta'alaw ila kalimatin, come to a common term. Ta'alaw ila kalimatin, sawa'in. Sawa'in is common. Baynana wa baynakum, common between you and us. That is Muslims and Christians, Muslims and Jews, they have this concept. أَنْ لَا نَعْبُدَ إِلَّا اللَّهَ, that we do not worship except Allah, anybody else except Allah. That is a common thing. وَلَا نُشْرِكَ بِهِ شَيْئًا, and we do not associate anyone with Him. وَلَا يَتَّخِذَ بَعْضُنَا بَعْضًا أَرْبَابًا مِنْ دُونِ اللَّهِ, and that some of us do not take others as lords. وَلَا يَتَّخِذَ بَعْضُنَا بَعْضًا أَرْبَابًا. See, بَعْضُنَا, بَعْضُ is subject, fa'il, when بَعْضًا is مفعول به first. Second مفعول is أرباب. اتخذها takes two objects, two مفعول به. اتخذته خليلا, I have taken him as my friend. Follow me? So, يتخذ بعضنا بعضا, some of us, others, أربابا من دون الله, other than Allah, we take them or treat them as lords and follow their commandments. فَإِن تَوَلَّوْا, if they turn back, turn away, فَقُولُوا, tell them, فَقُولُوا اشْهَدُوا بِأَنَّا مُسْلِمُونَ, bear witness that we submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So another, اتخذوا أحبارهم ورهبانهم أربابا. They have taken أحبارهم, their scholars, وَرُهْبَانَهُمْ, and their monks. Rahib, singular is Rahibun, Rahib, plural Ruhbanun, Ruhbanun. أحبارهم وَرُهْبَانَهُمْ أَرْبَابًا, lords, min dunillah, other than Allah, وَالْمَسِيحَ ibn Maryam, and Christ, the son of Mary. They have also taken him as Lord. Okay. So, Rabbil Alameen, Alam is universe, world. It is from Alima Ya'lamu. Alima Ya'lamu, which group? Sami'a. Yes, group. Alima Ya'lamu, to know. Alam, there are a few words that come on the measure of fa'al, with a fatha. Fa'il, of course you know it's not fa'il. Fa'al means a means of knowing. Alam is a means of knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the universe. In the same we have khatamun. Khatama yakhtimu is to stamp, seal. Khatamun is the means of sealing, the instrument of sealing. Khatamun. Alamun is like that. Sound masculine plural. which end in waw, noon in marfu' form, and ya noon in majroor and mansoob cases. This has a rule. Not all nouns. For example, rajulun, you can't say rajulun. Kitabun, you can't say kitabun. So, what is the rule? There are two types of nouns which take this form, waw noon form. The first is proper names. Proper names. For example, Muhammadun, you can say al-Muhammaduna. Ahmadu, say al-Ahmaduna. Please note here that when a proper name becomes plural, it takes alif lam. Why? Because there is no more a proper name. If there are 10 people, 10 persons called Muhammad, all of them Muhammad, you can't pinpoint them. So they become ordinary. It doesn't remain a proper name. So the moment you make plural of proper names, you must add alif lam. Ahmadu, plural is al-Ahmaduna. Ibrahim, al-Ibrahimuna. So proper names can take that. Of course, certain exceptions. Nouns with ta marbuta, hamza, you can't say hamzuna. There are certain rules, exceptions. But ordinary proper names, they take alif lam, waw noon. This is first type. Second type is derived nouns referring to male human beings. Male human beings. Like mudarrisun, it's a derived noun, ismul fa'il. Or ismul maf'ul, mahmud. Man, praiseworthy man, mahmud. You can say haulai mahmuduna, they are praiseworthy. Salihun, pious, good, say salihuna. Mudarrisun, mudarrisuna. Muhandis, engineer, muhandisuna. So a derived noun, but referring to you, a human being, male human being. So feminine, proper name we have, feminine plural, we have alifta. So this is only for males. So for example, you have ha'idun or murdi'un. Hamilun, hamilun is pregnant. You can't say hamiluna because this is refers to you, a human being, but feminine human being. Should be masculine human being. So that's the rule. But there are certain nouns which take the waw noon and ya noon as an exception. One of them is alam. Al-alam, plural is al-alamuna. Worlds, creations. It is a broken plural also. Alamun, awalimu. Awalimu. Also used. But the more the frequently used is alamuna. Alamuna is marfu', majroor mansoob is alamina. Rabbul alamina. خلق الله العالمين مفعول به خلق الله العالمين. There are other nouns also. Sanatun, what does it mean? Year. Sanatun has got sanawatun, feminine plural, sanawatun. Also sinuna, waw noon, sinuna, but sin has got kasra here. Sanatun has got fatha, but sinuna has kasra. Sinuna. Mansoob majroor form is sinina. For example, you say marrat sinuna. Many years have passed. Marrat, marra yamurru. Marrat sinuna. Beg your pardon? بضع سنين, yes. عشت في المدينة المنورة سنين. I lived in Medina for years. سنين. So, sanatun, sinuna, and another ahlun, people, or household people, ahlun. It also has, of course it has a broken plural, ahalin, but also we have regular masculine plural, ahluna, ahluna. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu qu anfusakum, save yourselves, wa ahlikum, and your household, an-nara. Qu anfusakum wa ahlikum. So where is the noon gone? Ahlikum. Ahluna, ahlina, and because of idafa, ahlikum, qu anfusakum, qu is from what verb? Waqa yaqi. Waqa yaqi. Al-amr is qi. Yes. There is a joke told about, not a joke, it's a story told about one of the ancient, during the Abbasid period. There was a professor or a teacher who was teaching Arabic grammar at a mosque. There was another teacher of an inferior quality, and he did not like this man. There were many students with him, so he didn't like, he had a sort of jealous about him. So he went to the police and said there is a madman in the mosque. You must remove him from the mosque, mad. He said, how do you know? He said, I have heard him uttering things, which are nonsensical. The policeman said, okay, I must ascertain myself. So he said, okay, you come to him in such a place at such a time. So he went there. The other teacher went to him and said, Sheikh, what is the amr from waqa? I said, qi. He said, how to, please tell me with the isnad. He said, qi, qiya, qu. Qi, qiya, qina. He said, can you repeat it? He said, qi, qiya, qu, qi, qiya, qina. Please, another time. The policeman came. Well, did you hear him what he's saying? This is madman's utterance. Qi, qiya, qu, qi, qiya, qina. Yes. So qa, waqa, yaqi, in the amr, the waw is lost, first radical, and the third radical is also lost in mudari, the first is lost. And the amr is second, the third is lost. So only qi. Qu anfusakum. Qu takes two objects. Rabbana atina fi dunya wa qina adhaban nar. Na is the first object, adhaban nar. Adhaba is the second object. Wa qina adhaban nar. So qu anfusakum, save yourselves, wa ahlikum, and your household, nara. This is the second object. I think we stop here and continue inshallah tomorrow. The time is up. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.